Hello and welcome. I'm Annette Reeder from the biblicalnutritionist.com. And today it's all about women's breast cancers, specifically the hormone driven breast cancers. And why is there a trend where it's increasing specifically with young women? When I read this article, I was already aware of what was happening with the trends in breast cancer, but I'm always heartbroken by these trends because I know it's affecting lives and it might be affecting your life or someone you know. Well, today I am interviewing Dr. Tony Jimenez from Hope for Cancer, and totally one of my favorite authors. But more importantly, he offers what he says, hope for cancer. And so today we're not going to deliver this in an attitude of fear because we are not to have the spirit of fear. Instead, we're delivering this in an attitude of hope, of what you can do. And today we're going to talk about this rise in breast cancer and why it's trending in young women, possible causes, and even ways to prevent or possibly even be an advocate for treating your own cancers, either in addition to your conventional treatment or in addition to alternative treatment. But we are here to give you hope. And definitely, I'm excited about today's interview with Dr. Tony. Dr. Tony, welcome. It's so good to have you back.
Thank you so much, Annette, for that kind introduction. And this is such an important topic because I just got back to home. I live in the US and I got home from our Cancun treatment centers. And I was there 9 days seeing patients every day. It was just amazing how the incidence of breast cancer in the US is very worrisome, very worrisome. One of our patients from Michigan, we sang the goodness of God in our consult because she does come with that fear from the conventional medical world, because we now know that the probability of being diagnosed from breast cancer in a lifetime is 1 in every 8 women in the US will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime, and 1 in every 39 women will die from breast cancer sometime in their life. So it was also published in the journal JAMA, the Journal for the American Medical Association, very prestigious journal. And the title of that paper was Incidence of Breast Cancer with Distant Involvement Among Women in the U.S. is Increasing Significantly. And that was from the U.S. National Cancer Institute, where they do something called SEER data, surveillance, epidemiology, and end-stage result data. And I could tell you what it said. It said the importance. Evidence from the National Cancer Institute SEER data database suggests the incidence of advanced breast cancer in young women is increasing. So this is not only what we're seeing in the peer-reviewed publication, but what I'm also seeing every day and what my doctors are reporting to me at our Hope for Cancer treatment centers.
Yeah, and every statistic is a person. Every person is a life, and every life has family members. So it's not just the person who is diagnosed, it's every family member is affected by this. And I know
Yes.
many women are afraid of getting breast cancer. And
Yes.
that's why it's like, no, we're not going to live in that fear. We're going to see how God created our body, how he created specific nutrients to help our body to do what it's supposed to do, and that's naturally heal or stay in a nice homeostasis state. So tell us, what might be some of the possible causes for this trend happening?
Well, we know that 90 to 95% of all breast cancers are not genetic in nature. They're epigenetic, right? And we'll talk about that. So the rest of them, which is at most 10%, are genetic in nature, right? So, but very few truly are genetic in nature. It's epigenetic. And now what we're seeing at Hope for Cancer is a lot of heavy metal toxicity. And the main heavy metal that we find almost in every breast cancer patient is aluminum. And they've done studies where they, after resecting a lump or bump, a tumor in the breast, they look for heavy metals and they find heavy metals. So one thing about heavy metals is that they create an environment in a specific tissue that favors the development of cancer, because then you have within that tumor microenvironment, you have parasites, you have possibly candida, in addition to the heavy metals. So that's one important thing. The other one is glyphosate. Glyphosate is probably the second biggest toxicity. It's cancer causing, as we know. It disrupts the hormone status in women. And then the third one, Annette and all the listeners, is EMFs, electromagnetic field radiation. And I cringe when I see someone put one of these things under, in their bra. It's like, no, 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 keep it away from you. So a lot to be said about the toxicity of electromagnetic field radiation, which is from Wi-Fi, from smart meters, um, cell phones, laptops, of course, all these things. So very important to pay attention to those contributing factors. And of course, others, alcohol. And Dr. Amen from the Amen clinics in the US, he's done hundreds of thousands of scans of the brain, and he concluded that any alcohol, even poquito, as we say in Mexico, very little alcohol, increases the incidence of 7 types of cancers, and one of them is breast cancer. And then we move into obesity, metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance. All this is disrupting the hormone balance. And when the hormones are off the endocrine system, then the immune system is off. God's given defense, the soldiers, the generals of the immune system that protect us every single moment of every day is suppressed. It's not optimal when your hormones in the endocrine system is off. And then also our autonomic nervous system, the parasympathetic, sympathetic. So we say this causes a sympathetic dominant, meaning you're in fight or flight all the time. Cortisol, the stress hormone, is elevated. So it's creating a field at a cell level where it favors the onset of breast cancer, and for that matter, many other cancers as well. And lack of exercise. We need to make sure that we are moving, moving, moving. And I'm not asking you to run a marathon every couple of months. I'm just asking you to please give me 20 minutes, 20 minutes, if you can every day, if not every other day. So aerobics, flexibility, and lightweight resistance, like with bands or small weights. This is not to, build Arnold Schwarzenegger type muscles, but to have tone, muscle tone, and integrity, because this will help balance the hormones as well. And and birth control pills, those ladies can potentially be at higher risk of cancer as well. Implants, that's one that is not talked about too much, but implants are a foreign body. And again, they suppress the immune system. The immune system is always on vanguard to try to keep those implants without infection and for the body to tolerate them well. So, especially in women who have breast surgery, like a mastectomy, where the breasts are removed, and then they do reconstruction. My general recommendation, of course, it's patient specific, right? Person specific. But overall, my general recommendation is not to do a breast reconstructive surgery immediately after surgery, because we see that the incidence of recurrence or relapse of disease is higher than those women who have not had reconstruction surgery or breast implants. So it's just what we observe, and the literature, I think, validates that as well. So just a few things there. Breastfeeding, especially for younger women, is so important because there's a higher incidence of breast cancer in women that do not breastfeed, or even in nuns that don't have children. There's a higher incidence of breast cancer in those people as well.
Wow, that was quite a list. And so let's just hit a couple of them that you mentioned. You mentioned quite a few. And you started with heavy metals. So how does someone, so now we're kind of walking into how to prevent or to treat, but how does someone eliminate those heavy metals on their own?
The first thing is to limit the introduction of heavy metals into your body, right? Because that's key. That's the first important aspect of this. And making sure the water that you're drinking is safe. Test the water at home and make sure it doesn't have heavy metals. I used to live in California. I'm not there any longer, and I lived in a property that had well water. And I said, wow, this is great. The city is not adding fluoride or any toxins. So I checked the water and it had cadmium, uranium, arsenic. And so, of course, these are very carcinogenic substances. So have your water checked, number one. Number two is microplastics that are found in plastic water bottles. And it is estimated that a 16-ounce water bottle, plastic water bottle, may have up to 450,000 particles of microplastics. And so this is disrupting hormones as well. We must stop that. When we go to Europe, as you know, Annette and the viewers, is that most of the places the water is in glass bottles, not in plastic, right? And at home, you use stainless steel, you use a glass water bottle, and so drink pure, filtered, clean water. And since we're all exposed to heavy metals, we need to detox. And greens, the closer we are to the garden, in my book, Hope for Cancer, 7 Key Principles to Remove Fear and Empower Your Healing Journey, I talk about the closer we are to the garden, the healthier we will be. And so with respect to heavy metals, more greens, more salad, more juices, we help eliminate heavy metals, chlorella, spirulina, chlorophyll, and near infrared sauna. Very, very important near infrared sauna. Its role in detoxing heavy metals and also improving microcirculation to healthy tissue. That way, we're purging these toxins from our body. The other important aspect here, Annette, is supplements. I take many, many supplements. Maybe you don't want to hear about that, but it's 45 or so supplements a day that I take. And we have to make sure that supplements are good quality and that they're not loaded with heavy metals. So do your research. Many of us, right, we have to take supplements nowadays because even organic, pure food, it's lacking all the nutrients and resources that our body needs. So that's important as well. We think, oh, we're taking these good supplements, but are they laced with heavy metals? So that's important. Yeah, many other things. We could be in nature, make sure we're breathing, doing breathing exercises. The other aspect is that I'm a naturopathic doctor also. And in naturopathic medicine, we have 4 therapeutic orders, 4 principles of health. Number one is to remove obstacles to health. And this is what we're talking about right now, removing heavy metals and toxins from your environment and from your body so that you're you can be healthy. Number two, in the therapeutic order of healing, is stimulating your body's self-healing mechanism. As we talked about in that, God has given us an amazing body that even though we abuse it, and even though, we can't live in a bubble, we live in this world now, it has tremendous self-healing power. So we need to stimulate that body's self-healing mechanisms. Number three is strengthen your weakest systems. Like for me, I say this all the time, my weakest system was my digestive system. And so I know that I have to focus a lot on my digestion, chew well, eat slowly, make sure I'm not drinking fluids as I'm eating, Don't eat and then go lie on the couch or sit down, walk 5, 10 minutes after you eat. Just basic things about nutrition that is very important to strengthen my weakest system, which is my digestive system, is evaluate what is your weakest system. Is it your respiratory system? Is it your immune system? And so your integrative functional medicine doctor needs to evaluate this, and you know your history, right? You know your history. So work on strengthening your weakest system. And number four is correct postural integrity, our posture, the flow of energy in our body. And I know I have to work at that every day. All this applies to prevention of breast cancer and also treatment of breast cancer. And if you are now in remission, no evidence of disease, NED, from a breast cancer diagnosis, more the reason that you need to follow all these tips, because once you've had cancer, it's you can get a recurrence. In breast cancer, 5 year survival was considered a cure in breast cancer. Now it's 7 years, right? Because uh, people have seen evidence, data has shown that 6 years recurrence, 5 years recurrence. So now it's 7 years cancer free of a breast cancer diagnosis is when it's considered cure, that you're cured. However, we cannot slack even after 7 years, even after 5 years. We need, like all of us, right, Annette, we need to live a lifestyle of health and wellness. We have to make sure that all of our pathways of elimination are open. That's what I wanted to say. We have to make sure we're having a bowel movement every day, at least one, preferably two. We have to make sure we're sweating. I mentioned near infrared sauna. The skin is the biggest organ of elimination, and so we must work on sweating. Most cancer patients in that have low body temperature because cancer is a low temperature, prefers a low temperature environment. And I've documented this extensively in our treatment centers at Hope for Cancer. So we need to make sure we're sweating and raising our core body temperature. The other thing is breathing, exhaling, inhaling, using the breath to eliminate toxins. And of course, urination, hydration, drinking at least half of your body weight in ounces per day is ideal. Cleansing, I recommend you do a liver gallbladder cleanse once or twice a year. So we're making sure that the pathways of elimination are open. And let's not forget what may be the most important one, and it's the subject of my next book coming out in March of 2025, is emotions and cancer. And so we have to detox from these negative thoughts and traumas and conflicts. I've been quoted as saying, a negative thought can kill you faster than a bad germ, right? So we have to detox these conflicts. And I could tell you, Annette, and the viewers, oh, so many stories of how when we work at that level of letting go of conflicts and traumas in our life, how breast cancer struggles to survive. And if I didn't see it myself, I wouldn't have believed this. I've seen where tumors just go away once the patient gets rid of those toxic uh, thoughts or toxic relationships.
Yeah, that needs to be our next video that we do, because people hear it, they know it, but I don't think they 100% relate to what you just said,
Yes.
because they're so caught up in, so we either walk in fear or we walk in faith. And sometimes that fear has us so encapsulated that we don't know how to walk in faith, to let go of those toxins, to let go of those negative thoughts, to let go of all of those podcasts that continue to play in our head from our past. And I cannot wait for your book to come out. That's going to be phenomenal. All right. So everything you shared with us, I know everyone has had a piece of paper and a list, and they're making notes, and they're probably going to have to listen to this a couple of different times because of all of the nuggets that you've shared. And we will break down the nuggets also in the show notes as well. And so this is fabulous. And so we're seeing the trend in younger women. And I know you mentioned the heavy metals and the glyphosate. The younger women today have had glyphosate from birth.
Yes.
Whereas, my children, it didn't come in until they hit 20. And then we were seeing, Crohn's disease and things like that happening in usually the sophomore, junior year of college. Well, now Crohn's disease is in children. And a lot of that is attributed to the bad bacteria and the glyphosate issue. And we're seeing children born with glyphosate issues. So it's happening so much younger that I feel like it's contributing to the earlier onslaught of cancer, specifically the breast cancers. And then the incidence of obesity has been a huge contributing factor as well. And what I am saddened by is the fact that Christians, they're not going to brag about, binging on alcohol or, binging on pornography, but they will brag about being gluttonous. I mean, they're not going to call it that. They're like, oh man, I ate so much. It's like, wait a minute, did you just hear what you said? And so obesity is kind of the quote accepted sin in the church. And it's like, okay, we need to change that because obesity leads to such a contributing factor to cancer as well. Would you agree?
Absolutely, absolutely. I remember when I was a little kid, I was born in Colombia, South America, and at the age of 5, my parents moved to New Jersey, of all places, but New Jersey. And my mom wanted me to be chubby, and I was always a slim boy. So she used to take me to the doctor every month and to see how he can fatten me up. So the doctor will give me a B complex injection in my buttock and I will limp out, but of course that never did anything, right? So
Yeah.
it's maybe cultural mentality that we are now still seeing that if we're chubbier and fatter, we're apparently healthier, but of course is the contrary. I believe also that we eat too much in that. I like to fast, and I'm not recommending this for everyone, but I think all of us can fast. So what I do now is I eat breakfast at about 10:30, and then I eat dinner at about 6. So what's that? That's almost an 8-hour window. And so from 6 p.m. on, or let's say 7 to about 10:30, that's 15 hours or so of fasting. So anywhere from 12 to 15, 16 hours of fasting, it does so much for your body. Improves the immune system. It helps the formation of new stem cells. Then the mitochondria become healthier. Damaged cells start to apoptose or kill themselves. So consider that, right? If and I feel better, I feel lighter, not physically and mentally. Cognitive function improves. So yeah, I think as a society, we just eat too much. We eat too much.
We do. And that's another topic too. So people don't understand breakfast is not biblical. It's not anti-biblical either, but it
Mm.
was more introduced by the cereal people, the cereal industry, because like, oh, breakfast is the best meal of the day. It's like, yeah, that was contributed by the cereal manufacturers. It's
Right.
not like it's in scripture, but it's not in scripture either. But what we teach is the hunger cues. When you stop eating processed foods, all of a sudden your hormones are working better and you have a hunger signal and you have a satisfied signal, which is how God designed us. And
Right.
when those are silenced by the processed food industry, then we eat and we're not satisfied. So we eat another serving or maybe another serving, and then we're cleaning up the kitchen or the child's plate at the restaurant is not emptied. So you empty that plate and you're like, yeah, but I'm not satisfied. Right, because those hormones have been silenced. The processed food industry, the chemicals in those have silenced our hormones. So now we no longer understand the cues that God has given us, the hunger and the satisfied cues. And so without those cues, we are confused as to what to eat, how much to eat, and when to eat. And so what you're saying is this, what is termed intermittent fasting, whether it has the term or not, it works and it
That's
awakens these hormones And you start to realize, wow, I am satisfied. And he just said he can go 8 hours between breakfast and dinner. That seems, insurmountable. But when you wake up those hormones and they understand satisfied, you can go
Yeah.
those 8 hours and feel amazing. So great point on that. Anything else you want to share with people before we close this amazing interview?
One other thing that I've realized in the last year is the importance. I mean, I knew it, but now I'm paying more attention to it, is the importance of our circadian rhythm, right? So preparing ourselves to sleep from the moment we wake up. So what if we wake up to see the sunrise? And we get that God-given sunrise that is going to come up every day. And okay, you might say, yeah, Dr. Tony, but I live in, Alaska or somewhere where we don't see that much light. Well, you wake up at that time, and even if it's cloudy, you get that morning light, right? And then during the day, you're trying to avoid these artificial lights. And I have these glasses that I typically wear that will harmonize the light, right? Take away this artificial light. And so we're bringing our body into a state of general well being with respect to the circadian rhythm. And as you say, Annette, then the hormones start to function better. And then after, when the sun sets, then I clip these on, right? They're a different color. And this is not blue blockers, it's harmonizing the light. And so then an hour or 2 hours before bedtime, then I clip on another pair, and this is red light, as you see here, right? Red. And so you're preparing your glands, you're preparing, you're working on your circadian rhythm to allow you to have a good sleep, REM and deep sleep. And what happens at that time, your body is going to generate a healthier state. Your hormones, your immune system, neuroplasticity is going to be enhanced. So please consider evaluating your day-night cycle and make sure you're definitely need to be asleep between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. because that's the time when the body heals, repairs, restores, and regenerates ideally. So there's, again, just like the closer you are to the garden with respect to eating, the closer you are to God's rhythm of light and darkness, the healthier we will be. And I believe that this can make a big difference in balancing hormones. And why not be another contributing factor to being healthier and decreasing in that way the incidence of breast cancer?
Yeah, I so agree. All right. Well, you have given us so much to consider, so much to think about. For many of these things that you've talked about, I'll put links down below, and also specifically to your book, Hope for Cancer.
7 Principles to Remove Fear and Empower Your Healing Journey. And I recommend this book only because it's Christ-centered and it's information that you can do at home. And, you could also learn what we do to a higher level at our Hope for Cancer treatment centers in Tijuana, Mexico and Cancun, Mexico.
Yeah. And again, what we said at the beginning is we are not here to serve to fear, because fear is, we are not to have the spirit of fear, but of hope. And so we are definitely serving hope. And this is Dr. Tony Jimenez with Hope for Cancer. And so his ministry, his business does offer free consults. So you can check with his website. We'll put a link down below and you can have a 30-minute free consult. And remember, cancer is there. It's just an enemy of our day, but we don't want it to ever introduce fear into your life. We are not to fear getting it. We are not to fear living through it or fear dying from it, because God has given us so many ways to teach us how he brings healing and how he brings healing through so many different ways. Yet every way that we look at that he has given us always points back to him being the creator. And as long as we understand who the creator is, we know who to go to when we are looking for help. And so whether you choose traditional methods or alternative methods or self-healing practices, that's totally up to you. But everything we've listed here today needs to be implemented because it's every system of your body being affected, being cleansed, so that you can experience the healing in the greatest way. And we never want to take away from the power of God's word, speaking his word and trusting his word and understanding that God is the truth. All right. So, Dr. Tony Jimenez, thank you so much for joining us today. I am just so honored to be able to have this time with you. And I know everyone who's watching this video also feels the same way. So, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you, Annette. And thank you, the biblical nutritionist, for what is this education is so important, and it couldn't be more important than now in 2024 and going forward.
Exactly. All right, everyone. Thank you for letting me share with you God's recipe for excellent health. I know this video has been a tremendous blessing to you as it has to me. So be sure and hit the subscribe button, and that connects you to us as the Biblical Nutritionist family. And we welcome you, and we are here to serve you and to keep bringing you as much information as we can about biblically based answers for your health journey. All right. Thanks for watching.